So mainstream media's coverage of Israel and Hamas is not even disappointing. It's just bad. As someone who spent more than 15 years in local news, it seems to only get worse. So let's start with this. Since when do we trust terrorists for facts, right? The Gaza Ministry of Health constantly releasing the death toll numbers. You mean Hamas, right? But I have noticed one change that I do want to address. After a few months, some mainstream media outlets are finally saying Hamas-run Gaza Ministry of Health. Here's what they should do, though. They should take it a step further and say unconfirmed reports. That's real journalism. Unconfirmed reports from a terrorist organization, of course, obviously. I mean, remember, this is the same Gaza Ministry of Health that said Israel bombed a hospital and 500 people were dead. A reality that didn't happen. Hamas misfired. 500 people didn't die. But mainstream media never actually took a step back and said, maybe we shouldn't trust them. In fact, they continue to quote them. And the continued push of a genocide is just crazy. Before the war, there was never a genocide because the population in Gaza has only grown. I've talked about the stats here before. Mainstream media, you should too. And now, well, there's a war and Hamas uses their people as human shields. Gaza is running out of fuel. That's what you're hearing in mainstream media. But let's talk about critical thinking. I think this part is really important. Mainstream media is showing you disturbing images of hospitals where Hamas-run Ministry of Health says babies will die without access to fuel. But here's a question to the media, to all of the humanitarian advocates, Hamas sympathizers, and Free Palestine supporters. Why don't they push for an immediate release of this 500,000 liters, 132,000 gallons of fuel that Hamas is holding? Okay, don't believe me? Let's think critically. Hamas terrorists have created an entire city underground. How do you think they're breathing and living underground? The air to the tunnels comes through a ventilation system that uses fuel-powered motors. Just think about it. They need to breathe in order to continue to launch rockets into Israel, which, by the way, they have not stopped. Even when Hamas admits its terrorists were killed, including one of their commanders, America's mainstream media wants to refer to them as just Palestinians. You know, innocent men. I'm talking about the Israeli forces going undercover to take out 3 Hamas terrorists hiding at a hospital in Jenin, the West Bank. It's believed that they were planning another October 7th style attack on Israelis while hiding at a hospital. Totally normal, right? But if you look here, the NPR wants you to believe that they're just 3 Palestinians. Here, the Washington Post saying Israeli agents kill 3. 3 what? To say what you were talking about mainstream media, I am getting information from local news reporters, anchors who I know personally, who are saying that these young producers who are 20-something years old are telling these people, we're not going to call them Hamas terrorists. We're not going to call this a terrorist attack. We're just calling it an attack. They're trying to whitewash this, and this is part of the propaganda, and you will see this develop more and more in the coming days. We have a serious problem. Qatar is one of the biggest donors to American universities, millions. I mean, look at what just happened this weekend at the University of Pennsylvania. One of
countries who are connected with terrorist organizations and radicalization on our school campuses.
Yeah, you're raising a lot of important questions, and it's really important to point out, I love what you said, it's not just anti-Semitism, it's not anti-Jewish, it's also very much anti-American. I applaud you for speaking up. I'm not really sure how we got here, but there is an obvious double standard when it comes to Hamas, its atrocities against Israeli women, and it's just mind-blowing. And remember when mainstream media outlets like AP, Reuters, CNN, New York Times were accused of using the work of Gaza photojournalists who were embedded with Hamas on October 7th, the freelancers? Well, now, Honest Reporting, a media watchdog group, has uncovered more information about 2 Gaza photojournalists, Abu Mustafa, who was working for Reuters, and Ashraf Amra, who was working for Reuters and AP. Now, there is video of them bragging about just coming back from Israel, laughing about Hamas killing Israelis, kidnapping them, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And joining us now is the investigative journalist who served as the impetus for Trump cutting UNRWA funding, Dr. Anthony Harper. Are our tax dollars funding terror? The biggest issue is right now is we need to change the narrative, because Israel is being shown as occupiers. Hamas is essentially a resistance movement. And so the media in America is covering it as both sides. I don't know how else to say it. Sadly, it's a clown show. Hamas is still holding people hostage, refusing any ceasefire. They committed a genocidal act on October 7th. In the Hamas charter, they encourage the death of Jews. And the judges in this case are elected by the UN, who we know run
runs cover for Hamas. I mean, Lisa, what are we watching here?
Absolute clown show.
What did you see with your own eyes, and were you prepared for what you saw?
I was not prepared at all. I had no idea what I'm about to see. I just, I wanted to help out with Zaka.
Everybody, they truly, they killed all of us. Even though I'm alive and breathing, they killed us too.
Is this the bunker in this video? Is this the bunker?
Yeah, it was painted blue with a girl and bubbles on it.
How many of you were inside that bunker, and how many of you actually came out alive?
We were about 35 or 40 people, and 9 of us were able to get out of there alive.